Hello and welcome. This is the Llano Laptop Cooler V10 designed for 13-inch to 15-inch gaming laptops, and using that turbo cooler fan in the center can reduce your gaming temperatures up to 20 degrees centigrade. It does that by using that cooler fan that draws lots of air for a larger surface area, and of course in good gamer fashion, this laptop cooler also comes equipped with RGB with a mode toggle to choose between 5 different RGB modes, as well as another button here to choose your colors so you can match your overall RGB setup. It is tastefully done and looks good on the rear of the device as well as on the right hand side of the device, adding to your overall gamer enjoyment and experience. Additionally, Llano has provided this foam for making a seal between the laptop once it's resting on the cooler for better airflow and optimal cooling efficiency up to 20 degrees centigrade. Also included is this smaller foam seal that is useful for 13-inch and 14-inch devices, since this cooler supports 13 to 15-inch devices. In front of the device, there are these two arms here which flip up to allow the laptop that's sitting on the cooler to stay in place and not slide off hitting the floor, as that would not be good for anyone. On the rear of the device, Llano has provided us with a USB hub. There is a USB Type-C to A cable provided in the box for an uplink, and there's two additional USB-A ports for your mouse and keyboard or other USB-A based peripherals, as well as USB Type-C out. On the bottom of the device, there are these nice rubberized pads at the front and these two flip-up feet at the rear for a better ergonomic angle for your device once it's sitting on your laptop cooler. That said, there's also a provided flip-out cover here for the bottom of the fan with a foam seal that allows us to keep the dust out and for easy maintenance. The fan noise from the Llano Laptop Cooler V10 can vary depending on the RPM that you run it at. At the base 300 RPM, the device outputs about 46 to 47 decibels, which is typical of a gaming laptop these days. Now, Llano recommends that you operate this device to get the best balance between noise and actual cooling effect between 1200 to 1500 RPM. That said, we'll start here by cranking this up to 1200 RPM, and we'll take a decibel meter reading here. We'll see that we're hitting about 50 decibels, which is typical of a gaming laptop running in performance mode. So not all that much noise, but due to the larger fan and the larger surface area, this is able to draw much more air across the surface of your device to help cool. At the higher end, at 1500 RPM, it jumps slightly by maybe about a decibel or two. Not quite noticeable from 1200 RPM, but this is the highest end of the range where Llano suggests you operate this device to get a good balance between cooling and of course the fan noise that exhibits. Of course, if we crank this all the way up to a whopping 3500 RPM, I'm sure you can hear here that this is extremely loud. At about 63 decibels, this is ear-piercing noise, and I would not recommend, nor does Llano, that you operate this device at this speed, except for very extreme cases. Most laptops should be able to cool very nicely with a up to a 20 degree drop at 1200 to 1500 RPM as recommended. Now, that said, if we drop this back down to 1200, you can see the contrast in the noise between what we saw at 63 decibels at 3500 RPM and the more nominal 1200 RPM. We begin testing by using FurMark here to load the CPU and the GPU. Running and soaking for about 30 minutes, we see that temperatures rise quickly to high 80s or mid 80s on that CPU and about 70 degrees on that GPU. Now, to engage, we turn on our Llano Laptop Cooler V10, and we'll crank this up to 1200 RPM as is suggested by Llano to be the sweet spot for the balance between cooling and fan noise. At 1200 RPM here, we'll see that quickly the fans kick in and it starts to draw air across that surface of the laptop, and we start to see those temperatures drop. Now, keep in mind that a little bit of the instability you're seeing on screen here is due to the fact that when the CPU power, the temperature goes down, the system tries to push additional power to the CPU, and that's why you see this hopping. But we can see here that both CPU and GPU are sitting right around 60 degrees, a phenomenal decrease in temperatures within a minute or so when we turn on the Llano Laptop Cooler. So definitely a fantastic device. Let's look now at another benchmark. To demo the Llano Laptop Cooler, we're going to run here Cyberpunk 2077 using the in-game build benchmark. We're running here at 1080p resolution with a ultra setting with DLSS turned on and also frame generation set up here. For the first run here, we'll run with the Llano Laptop Cooler off. So this is basically the laptop's internal cooling doing its thing here. Of course, after a few different runs here, I was getting a lot of variation on this particular laptop, the Dell 7630, the Inspiron Plus 16. But that said, though, it does get quite hot, and we see temperatures regularly in the 80s on the CPU and close to about 70 or maybe a little bit above 70 degrees on that GPU. So that GPU here is an RTX 4060. Now this is a lower watt GPU, so it's going to be, of course, a more pronounced effect if you have a higher end laptop gaming GPU with more power. This one here draws only 60 watts, but that said, there in this thin and light form factor, the laptop still gets quite hot. And we're going to take a look here in a moment with the laptop cooler turned on, what kind of temperatures we're seeing here, and whether or not the Llano laptop cooler is as effective as they claim. So we'll begin here by first turning on the laptop cooler. We'll ramp it up to 1200 RPM. This is the lower end of the range where Llano suggests that you use this laptop for a good balance between noise and cooling effect. And 1200 to 1500 RPM, there's only 1 or 2 decibels difference, as we saw earlier. So it's up to you where you prefer the noise levels at. Now we see here that we kick off with the laptop cooler on. It engages quite quickly. The fans ramp up very quickly, and the efficiency here is just top notch. We're getting 60 degrees basically both on the CPU and on the GPU. Keep in mind it hops around a little bit because the CPU frequency keeps trying to push additional wattage as soon as the temperatures drop. So that effect, it keeps bouncing between 61, 60, 61 and about mid 60s in terms of the temperatures. But roughly we're sitting at about 60 degrees centigrade here. We'll take also a noise reading now. So at 1200 RPM with the laptop running the benchmark for CP2077. We're getting here about 47 to 48 decibels of fan noise, which of course is pretty much what you would get with a gaming laptop and perhaps a balanced or maybe a nicely optimized laptop in a performance mode. So not all that much noise, but a much more pronounced cooling effect from the Llano laptop cooler. It is as effective as they say, and it is quite impressive. So thank you, Llano laptop, for setting this out for review. I'd love to review the V10. We've reviewed the V12 earlier on our channel as well. Please go check that out. And I look forward to reviewing the next iteration of the Llano laptop cooler. Leave your comments below. Do you have a laptop cooler? Are you looking to purchase one? Is this something you would consider? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.